Fuck it, we'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
We'll
Fuck
do it live. Fuck it, we'll do it live.
What? All right, we're doing it live. Cool.
That's awesome. Okay.
Tonight on Stumbling Down History Road, we're going to be talking about the history of occultism and stuff like that. I'm Jackson.
Oh, my name is Pat.
I'm D.
All right. Somebody lead us off.
Okay. Okay. I think one of the reasons why I've been interested in the topic is because of if I would say it's hard to describe. It's if you look at the current state of, like, I would say American pop culture, there's almost like a sense of cognitive dissonance where, like, they argue that they don't believe in God, they don't believe in the devil, they don't believe in any religion, but at the same time they want to write out angel numbers and manifestations and all that stuff, which all part and parcel is part of the same grand system. There's like the doctrine of the rules, which is religion, and the exploration of the world of the spiritual, which is spirituality. And for some reason, people have found it, I would say, comforting to rebuke, like, I would say, traditional. Oh, closer. They kind of turn to the point where they kind of rebuke modern, like, I would say, traditional religious standpoints in favor of, say, occultism, which tends to be focused more on, like, gratification of one's own personal desires, which I think is dangerous, just as a societal viewpoint. Would you agree? Disagree?
I mean, yes and no. I've always found the concept of using the practice of religion as a crutch for not, like... I find if you need to seek an eternal reward to be a decent person, that kind of says more about how you just seem to be a shitty person naturally than you are, like... If you're just being a good person because you think it's going to benefit you like that, I mean, I try and be a decent person because, yeah, it helps me, but I also, because other people are just exist and you just kind of, but, I mean, I get what you're saying, though, using occult and spirituality to kind of, I mean, it's... It really depends on, like, what you're doing with it versus, like, just whether or not you just kind of simply believe it or not. It really is, like, a hard, like, well, I mean, say hard, but, like...
I'm going to request that you define occultism or being part of something akin to that.
Okay.
We'll start with the pretty generic definition.
Okay. So
so we have some idea.
Yeah, gotcha. So the way I perceive it is that let's break it down to, like, say, three primary aspects. The most common aspect, I would say, would tend to be religion, right? It's a doctrine of thought and worship for whatever deities you worship and pray to. But the thing about it, though, it's very doctrine based. There are rituals or rules or all kinds of stuff. After that, we're going to have to look at the aspect of, say, of spirituality, in which spirituality is more of a self-exploration of the relationship between you, your soul, and whatever spiritual ecosystem you
subscribe to.
Thank you. And then lastly, I would say occultism tends to rely on a bit more of the niche spiritual factions. For example, one of I would argue is there's a rise of paganism in the United States.
It's weird that you basically said some form of religious aspect 3 different times.
Well, no, religion is different because religion is a doctrine
So
and thinking.
you said religious, then you said spiritual, and then you said spiritual again.
No, occultism is a form of spirituality, but
Well,
requires more
I
niche.
requested that you define occultism, so using
Okay.
occultism in
I'm laying the
occultism
groundwork.
as a definition is weird.
I'm laying the groundwork here, and then I'm kind of going to more exactly what the occultism is. So with these 3 things, occultism specifically, yes, it is part of these other branches, but the thing about it, it tends to focus more on very niche spiritual, doctrinal practices. It's almost like the subculture of the culture, the counterculture for the main culture.
So like Christianity back in like 800 AD.
Actually, yeah. Actually, very much so.
I was going to say more like Lutheranism.
Maybe before that.
About, I was going to say like maybe Lutheranism about 1350 or whatever the fuck it.
Even Lutheranism, I would still argue, because it was still built off the Bible, still religious. Might be split off the main. It might be split off the main branch.
Just using
but
it
it's
as
still-
like an example of like a split branch from something. Yeah.
Honestly, the reason why I'm saying actually Wicca, we can look at Wicca as a modern example of occultism. It kind of ties into traditional, traditional Celtic and Germanic beliefs, a little bit of Egyptian sprinkled in there, but people turn to it for some reason. Well, and the reason why is because without actually fully understanding the roots of these practices.
I view it probably now as trying to keep a focus on said spirituality and tradition while breaking away from what they believe to be the oppressive factors of mainstream religions such as Christianity and Islam and stuff.
People could people with the rise in different cultures and how frequent and popular it is, and just just everywhere. Given the fact that anything is on mainstream media, anything is on the internet, you can find anything. The fact that people are getting more broad with it, the fact that people want to connect with different religions that they see closer that they closer adapt to, that they more closely believe. I feel like that's something potentially there, not just like, yes, let's break away from mainstream. They could be like, oh yeah, I've always been kind of like in touch with nature. I like nature. Let's check this out.
See, I definitely agree with both what you're saying. I would like to say though,
I'm hearing a but.
In addition, I should say, or to be more precise about my point, when it comes to people looking towards occultism because people inherently need to worship. That's our thing. As a species, we have to worship. It's our version of like the queen bee for the hive, right? No matter where you go, no matter what you did, there's always going to be a higher spiritual being that kind of governs the universe, whatever you believe it or not. With the modern iterations of occultism, unfortunately, it tends to take, not so much as in your place where, like what you said, I want to be in tune with nature. But, for example, you can go on really any Reddit, Reddit, Wicca, whatever has you, and the first thing they see is how to do a love potion, how to get someone to fall in love with you. That's not being in tune with nature, just by its own merit.
Yes, that is the first thing I've always seen on Reddit. However,
No love potions, no bottomless purses, no party tricks.
however,
You get that reference.
to be fair, you ever play D&D?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Okay, so then you've played like Wicca pagan aspects. Have you ever played a druid?
yes, I have.
Oh, okay, neat.
Even then, okay, if we're going to talk Wicca, doesn't Wicca also stem from traditional, like I would say, Celtic Gaelic beliefs? And a large part of those beliefs also did involve human sacrifices.
Well, it depends
A lot.
on which variant of the Wicca we go with. I mean, Wicca is nowadays almost...
It's kind of a catch-all term, so to
yeah,
say.
it's Wicca and pagan that are like the catch-all terms, effectively.
I mean,
Pagan is more closely related with like Norse nowadays, but it still has Wiccan aspects.
Even
more
then, pagan was a catch-all term for any non-Christian religion in northern Europe.
So is
In the
Gypsy.
world, honestly.
Well, gypsies tended to come from a
Romani.
Romani people tended to come from either a Jewish or
I just meant that it was
But-
also
or,
a catch-all.
I think it was Indian originally.
Yeah, the Romani, like they hail from India, made the way up across the Caucasus, and bam, Europe.
Yeah, like they hail
Weird.
from like the
been interesting.
the Romanis is it's kind of a catch-all term. Gypsy became a catch-all term for the type of Romani traveler people, because there aren't just Romani. There's other types of certain other types of travelers too.
Correct.
So yeah, using like pagan is also kind of like the same old catch-all term as a gypsy or
A Wiccan.
Yeah.
Or just saying, oh, look, he's a Christian, but he could be like a Protestant or a
Or
Lutheran
like
or a
a-
Baptist.
or like
Oh,
a
look,
white
you're a
guy
Christian,
or
right?
an Asian guy, or it's kind of a catch-all term when you don't quite know what you're.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you 100%. There's no buts to that. I just agree with that, the sentiment of it. I would like to know what your guys' thoughts are as to. Okay,
This is a history podcast,
Yeah,
allegedly
absolutely.
sometimes.
absolutely. Well,
That's
considering the fact that the United States was based off fundamentally Christian ideals. A lot of them are the Constitution itself is to represent the. No, it is.
I mean, it is, but at the same time,
The practice may not be Christian, but it was still built on Christian ideals.
Yes, but the founding fathers were quite prescient in the belief that it should be a lot.
Freedom of religion?
Yeah,
I feel like
like
that's like...
In fact, a lot of founding fathers actually were really, really interested in Islam at the time and like hanging out. Like they're like, these Muslim people are neat. What's up with them?
because at the time it was like the brand new territory to be trading with and working with.
Yeah.
So, and they call it.
So, I mean, I get that it is based off. Oh, see, the thing is a lot of modern day, particularly U.S. and European laws, are based off kind of the basic Judeo-Christian morality scale, kind of sort, whatever you want to call it, morality. But it's,
Effectively, don't be a cunt.
yes, don't be a cunt. Don't kill people. Don't steal things.
No, specifically, don't murder people. You can kill, but you just can't murder. Self-defense.
I don't believe in that either.
What do you mean?
He doesn't believe in killing for self-defense.
I don't believe in killing, period, on a personal level. As a misanthrope, I don't give a shit about what other people do, but on a personal level, I just find that, for me, taking a life is something that I just choose not to do for... I mean, I'm sure if I was to push the extreme, I'd end up doing it if I have to, but for the most part, if I never... Even if I'm forced to, I'm going to avoid doing it, period, if I can. It's a whole thing, but yeah, whatever.
I can understand that sentiment.
Don't get me wrong, I'll take your fucking arm off or crush your spine, paralyzing you, but I'm not going to kill you.
I feel like that's worse. Like, at least death is over quick. Like, you crack a guy's spine, and he spends the rest of his life suffering. That's arguably more evil.
Yeah, but he could become a philosopher and maybe have deep thoughts about the world and change things that way. If he's dead, though, what is he contributing then?
I would say that
Or we
there's.
could
I
put
would
him
say
on a
that there's.
phone call
I would say
call
that there are
center.
some crimes that would merit death.
Some crimes do, yes, but that's not mine to do.
Yeah. No.
Do you understand that? But do you understand that that's his point on that?
No, I understand the point. I'm just analyzing his point. That's all.
No, it's just it's a personal held kind of, not even belief, just kind of some almost like a vow I've taken of personal choice.
No, I
Just,
understand that. Yeah.
But
it's a weird whatever.
No,
Anyway,
it's not. It's quite common and it's not unreal.
self-defense, killing somebody for self-defense.
in America, it's not that uncommon.
It's usually mostly stupid people killing each other.
Well, boy, howdy. That's
it.
also another thing. It's a lot of stupid people killing each other. I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
Well, not with that attitude.
He's not working hard enough at it.
Whoa, it's the popo.
Oh well.
I paid my tickets. It's not me. Anyway, so the thing is, the reason I'm saying this is because as we see it, a lot of the ideas of, say, the constitutional republic are the ideas that you're supposed to treat your neighbors well, and treat them do right by your country. It's almost a mirror of like the Judeo-Christian belief: love thy neighbor, love God above all else. Love your neighbor, love your country. Right.
To be fair, that's the view with a lot of religions. Period.
I'm speaking
Not just
I'm well aware of that.
Christo-Judean.
I'm well
I mean,
aware
not
of that.
everyone. But
Actually,
I said a lot. The words I used were a lot.
No, fundamentally, most religions are designed to kind of keep the peace among the people. I'm speaking.
Yeah.
I'm speaking as a Christian. I can't speak as a Muslim, so I'm speaking from a Christian point of view. So, my thing here is that it's when you're watching a lot of the rise of these occultic practices. Like I said, I brought up the example before of if you go on Reddit, how to make a love potion, how to bring back an ex. That's a very common one too. And a lot of these ideas put the person above, put their needs above, I would say, everything else's, which in most situations is fine, but to maintain a healthy society, it doesn't work. A lot of these occultic practices, or at least a lot of way these old occult practices, mirror a lot of the older societies in which it was very might makes right. I'm going to do what it takes to win. Blood is okay. It's okay to shed blood as long as we get the victory, and if we do lose, we still shed even more blood.
I'm sorry, but didn't the Crusades happen?
Oh, I completely aware of that. I absolutely aware of that.
I'm just kind of confused. Didn't the Spanish Inquisition happen?
What a
absolutely.
show.
We can also go through the Rohingya Muslims butchering their way through Myanmar. I'm well aware of that being butchered through Myanmar.
Yeah, I'm just kind of confused.
What's their confusion though?
Well, you said a lot of the older vows are based off. A lot of the older views are based off of might makes right. Isn't
Yeah.
that exactly what any
But my statement is not
culture has done, period.
exactly.
Not necessarily. I mean, it depends.
You're right, sorry. The African Quakers did nothing wrong.
We stand by our African Quaker overlords and their space lasers. Anyway,
So
you were there for that. You should remember this.
I don't honestly. African space Quakers? What's that?
The conspiracy theory episode with
I forgot about that. So my thing is though is that it's still what you're saying does not negate what I'm saying. I said older cultures. You know, we're looking at the time of the Crusades. It was a constant battle for the Holy Land between the Muslims, the Jews, and the Christians, and it was a nasty three-way fight plus some. It's still an older version of our society. What's up?
I'm getting
I mean-
feedback. Just stop. I'm getting feedback. Just stop hitting the table.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, I mean, you say like like saying with Wiccan, it's about more of a personal enrichment. I mean, even when you look at Buddhism, the basic tenet of Buddhism is happiness comes from within and self-fulfillment.
And that comes from letting go. That comes from That comes from just letting go of who you thought you were embracing. The universe as a whole.
Well, it depends on the type of Buddhist you're talking to. There are
True.
a few
There
different
is a lot of different.
there's several different types, and I mean,
Can't just lump them all together.
no.
That's how, no matter how hard I try.
Dude, no, trust me. You start lumping Asian people in together, they get pissy about it. They do not like being lumped in together.
I mean, neither do black people or any other culture. No culture. Nobody likes to be lumped together because, like,
Well, except for the left.
Everybody is all unique, just like the guy next to you.
I saw a video on YouTube today.
Remember, you're 1 in a million. That means that there's 7,000 other like you.
And if you believe
That's
how
so heartbreaking.
and fun enough, if you
Oh
believe,
my god.
if you think about how math works on an infinitesimal level, if the universe is infinite, then there is
Kitty
probably-
history.
You're not
It's just
special.
like ours.
There's probably an exact copy of you somewhere out there in the universe.
Can you imagine telling like a kid that and just watching their whole face just melt? You're not special. On a numerical cosmological scale, you're not special.
Oh no, the universe be big. Tell me somewhere out there that there's not some version of a fucking alien.
I mean,
You're gonna tell me somewhere, somehow, in the billions of galaxies, the billions of solar systems, the billions of stars, the billions of different planets that each revolve around these, there's not one other planet that supports life?
I mean, it's arrogant to think that we're the only species out here.
Exactly.
We're the only life-bearing planet out there. It's very arrogant of a person to think that.
The thing is there's a few ways you could look at that. The first is if there's a planet that is sustaining life, are they on the same technological level as us? In which case, they're still stuck in their solar system. However, if they are at an advanced technological level,
This was about occultism.
the question is
This was.
They kinda
why
go
would
hand
they
in
be
hand.
here, and what would they be doing here? I mean, it's not about resources. What would they need resources for from here? There's literally thousands of other ways to get resources.
Unless, of course, we're the only one that has insert thing, like fossil fuel.
I mean, I doubt it.
But again,
If you're a space-faring species, I doubt that fossil fuel will be something very.
at that point,
It could be cool.
At that point,
They could
once
wanna
you
make
get past-
plastic.
once you get into like interstellar travel, I mean, yeah, you really only need things like fossil fuel for such things like novelties, like you're saying, and I mean, I feel like a planet that's at that level could find other planets like to just be what would be the
with less chances of dying. 'Cause
yeah.
we would absolutely destroy aliens if they came down here, or at least we would try
Well,
to.
we
No,
would
we would.
make an
We
effort.
would try to. The fact that we would try to kill them, you know us.
Hold on.
What's up?
There would be a group that tries to kill it, there'd be a group that tries to make peace with it, and there'd be a group that tries to fuck it.
I feel like all three of those things would be Marines.
I'm not saying anything.
For our military people here, you get that joke.
I'm not saying anything.
Anyway, I mean, even then, aliens themselves can't lend into occultism because you'd have to factor in what would aliens if they're older than us, would they have a better understanding of how the universe works? In which case, would they know what
More
would be-
about their version of God.
what would be their closer answer to the truth about religion, because they would have a better understanding of where things came from for them.
Potentially.
It all depends. Like, you know, even if you're a couple billion years older than us, that would give you a much better understanding of how things came to be, possibly, than, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it still would get jumbled over the years, obviously, telephone game, but, you know.
But I feel if you're an intergalactic like spacefaring race, I feel like if you're an intergalactic spacefaring race, the idea of you know, you said a few billion years old. I would say like that would kind of put the universe in a much more fresh state than where you're in now, which means they would probably have a lot more access to information than we do.
Yeah,
and they would definitely be a lot closer. Because when one really thinks about the idea of like the search of religion, occultism, paganism, whatever have you, the whole purpose of it is to find the fundamental truth behind the universe. What makes the universe tick? What makes it operate? And for some people to tap into that, some people just observe it. But
I do want to say, there's a book with a quote that says, Cats are nice.
Cats are nice.
When referencing what is the purpose of, what is the meaning of life?
Is that a Hitchhiker's Guide to Get? No.
I don't get the reference.
It's okay. They might.
Okay, anyway.
Good Omens?
No.
God damn it. Which one is it? I'm also trying to think, because I know you don't read, so a book that you've actually read, I'm trying to think of the short list that is.
It's either Wheel of Time or Discworld. I'll let you choose.
Oh,
I
it's
feel like it's
Discworld.
more-
Okay, yeah, all right. Wait, when the hell did you read Wheel of Time?
Don't worry.
I have copies of Wheel of Time. Well, the first book.
Next.
What? Anyway.
Well, yeah. I mean, also, okay, so we were talking about how...
The freedom of religion, yes.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, you also had brought before, you know, you're taught this is a history-based podcast.
Allegedly.
Well, yeah, but also you have to remember that there are a lot of also historical cultures that they were considered esoteric, occult, paganistic, and turns out they knew some things about the universe that it took quite a while for other people to discover. For example, there's the Dagon tribe in Africa. They were well aware
I was just about to mention them.
yeah, they knew about the binary star system way before Europeans. No one knows how they knew it, but they did.
But I mean, look at the Mayans and the Aztecs. Look at how much fucking shit that we just stole from them, effectively. Look at Egypt.
Oh, we still don't understand how it works. We still,
Well,
we
I'm
still
talking
don't know
about the different calendars, a lot of the fact of like, hey, look, they also made pyramids. Why? What? Why is everybody making a pyramid?
Well,
dude, they're pyramids inside pyramids. It's wild.
Yeah.
I
Same thing with Egypt. How the fuck? Easter Island. Why the fuck?
Göbekli Tepe. How the fuck? In a time where people should be
Stonehenge.
building monuments. Yeah, we don't get it. And that's the thing about it though. Like a lot of these practices, they were well aware of things that they were in access and contact with things that we don't understand.
They just had one really strong boy.
Who's the biggest boy in the village?
One strong lad.
The biggest thing I find about the ancient alien theory is, like,
Aliens.
why would, it's like you look at Europe and like everything, like it's like in Europe, I mean, there's not as much like crazy stuff as there is around the rest of the world. So a lot of times, like Europe, it's like, oh yeah, people did this, but then you have to go, you see all this other shit, like the pyramids and stuff. It's like, well, there's no way some people in ancient Africa can make this on their own without, like, it's a weirdly subtly racist thing almost, I find.
Why?
Because it's like,
I think that it's just
Well,
weird.
I think
Because
it depends on the implication they're trying to make. Like, oh, they couldn't have done this. I can see what you're getting at.
it's almost like saying like these brown or black are just
These people have a different melanin level
these
than
colored
us.
people just aren't as like. I mean, you look at like some of the churches in Europe and stuff. Yeah, they're crazy and awesome architecture, but they're in terms of like relative, like they're just kind of simple. But you go to like the thing,
They made it more ornate, whereas the Egyptians, the Aztecs, the Mayans,
they
they
were
made it
simpler,
more.
but they're more structurally grand.
They were so far more ornate. Like,
Oh no, they were crazy ornate in their own way. I'm just saying.
if you look at like the pre-dynastic Egyptian pre-dynastic Egyptian sculptures, like from when Kemet was still a thing, like they were done to mathematical precision. That's not accidental. That's still ornate. It's not as the spiraling columns and gargoyles,
but it's a different type of ornate. Yes.
Yeah, it's far more.
Europeans went, ooh, that fancy, whereas everybody else was like, yes, it must be by the book, and we were like, ooh, that fancy. I like gargoyle.
Well, gargoyles held the purpose
function.
of.
I just mean like in terms of like
spirits,
but even then, other cultures still have their own versions of gargoyles. You still find pictures of demons and names and things all across.
Sure, but they were typically not cast or chiseled out of stone. It was
what the hell are they called? Those Chinese lions specifically meant to guard the emperor.
The shishi lions,
Yes.
food dogs,
Yeah.
a few other names you call them.
Food dogs, but they're not dogs though.
I love food dogs. They're awesome. They're technically supposed to be lions or a few other things, but yeah.
It works.
Depends on which cold. Because in Japan and Okinawa, they are meant to be more dogs, whereas in China, they're meant to be more lion. It's kind
which culture you go with.
I'm not getting in between that.
That
is a long history I'm not touching.
Come at us with the history of Arcanine when we discuss all that stuff. Best Pokemon.
Oh my god.
History of Asia?
That could be fun.
Coming soon?
That'd be very.
That'd be a long episode.
That would be a multi-part.
Just a good 1,000 years of just nonstop violence.
So the rest of the
Depends on
world.
chunk
I'm
of
100%. At that time,
The rest of the world.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm looking forward to it. What I was saying is the old idea.
I think in all of human history, there's been about 80 years of total peace, give or take.
Yeah, the reason. the reason.
No.
I mean,
No, not even close.
No.
They're recent in terms of sure, when you look back at 8,000 BC, there was war, but in terms of recent to our days, not really either.
I mean,
there's always some violence. There's always some war. It's just a matter of how grandiose.
yeah.
And to what scale.
But in terms of there being no real scalable conflict, international or semi-national conflicts like that, there's only been roughly 80 or so days total that we've never actually had some sort of scalable conflict.
You said days or years?
No,
Well, and the second
literal
time he said days.
Days.
Yeah.
Days.
Yeah.
Oh.
I might be a little off on my math here. It might be 100 and something.
It also depends on the grandiose, the scale.
But yeah, in terms of human conflict on scale, measurable, there's been less than a year in which it's been so tiny and immeasurable that you can consider it a peaceful day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd you calculate that?
Well, it depends on what scale you want to use. It's just a matter of tribes in fucking the Iroquois and the Cherokee, they were fighting shit like that. They had a war that day. Does that count? It might not be multinational. It might not be France and Britain. It might not be fucking Egypt and fucking I don't know. Let's go with Turkey.
When we're saying scalable conflict, or how big army size are we discussing?
Exactly.
It's a very subject. Like I said, this is a lot of scholars putting a lot of work into it.
If you're talking on a cultural, on a countrywide level, it's probably about 20 years or so.
I was about to say, because 80 days seems a little bleak for my taste.
But if we're going based off of anything less than I don't know, 100 people weren't just death by natural illness, i.e. somebody went out and killed somebody else, then it's got to be I don't know, 50 days.
I can imagine a scenario like that.
This is kind of a bit of a it's the topic itself is both a little bit subjective and hard and
It's hard to quantify.
And almost inquantifiable too, because you have to go by historical records, personal records that don't even technically exist anymore. It's
Does China warring with Hong Kong now that Hong Kong is part of our China, or
does that
Taiwan?
count?
By the way, please don't ban us.
Oh yeah, I said the T word. Whoops.
Yeah, one China. I don't know.
Okay, John Cena.
Nope. I don't care. No. I'm against that crap now.
But
Free Taiwan.
No, we're not doing the
Free
Jean
Tibet? I don't know, man.
And that too, free Tibet.
I don't fucking know. Dude, does the conflicts that happen there, does that count as something
Even if they
quantifiable?
I don't
even
know.
if they are
He's the one who
relatively
brought up the
bloody.
statement, not me.
Well, no,
asking him.
no, I'm asking you because you were the one that was like, how do we quantify that?
Oh yeah, that's the thing.
Would you quantify that as that? Would you quantify the
Entirety of the Cold War is that.
Would you quantify the hotel massacre in Munich?
Okay, are we talking about if we're talking about peaceful days, are we saying specifically? You said natural death, so even if it's a byproduct of say industrialization, does that count as a peaceful day or no?
I would count that as peaceful.
Peaceful.
You would? Okay.
So
I'm talking about one person taking another man's life.
So are we going to limit it to like organized conflict?
Relatively, if we limit to organized conflict, yes, that would be.
It could be out of passion or rage, but I wouldn't call that organized.
I mean, if we're talking, okay,
Like even if it was a riot, I would still consider like a riot, like or a massacre. I would still consider that organized conflict, even if it's not a two formal forces battling side by side. It's two very distinct groups.
Yeah.
And combat. I'm gonna consider that organized.
yeah,
conflict. If that's the
what I
merit-
was
yeah.
saying with passion or heat of the moment type of a thing. Like you catch your wife cheating
wouldn't
on
count
you
that as-
type
No,
of nonsense.
That's
I wouldn't
way
count that
too-
as a war.
No, not even.
No, but you could quantify that as part of somebody else taking somebody else's life, which is why I was like, do we count that?
No, I'm
No,
talking
because
about
if that's the case, then we've never had a peace within the planet. Somebody's being murdered every day. It's a
Before
guarantee.
Cain and Abel,
Yeah, fine.
depending on what you want to believe.
That's listen, man. It's up to everybody. I'm saying like as far as it goes back, as far as we can be aware of, as far as we can imagine, at least once a day somebody's being murdered.
I watch
If that's the
Sandman.
merit, then we've never had a peaceful day. I'm saying for specific organized conflict, and
If
especially
we're going by organized conflict, then yeah, it's been less. It's literally
It's
like,
less than a year.
It's about. It's,
I
it's like,
honestly
yeah, it's
considering
weird.
like what you watch, like what's happening in the. Sorry, God. How do you move this closer to me?
You move it closer to you.
No, actually closer. Okay, that extends.
He
But,
has,
so
he
my-
has this thing. It's called a Welker or whatever. It's supposed to be about that far. Yeah.
Yeah. You want about 6
never
inches
used-
from the mic.
I've never used the mic before, so.
I know that you don't know what 6 inches is, but it's about one white man.
Yeah, the mic.
That's a good one.
I'm trying to be a good representative. I'm trying to be a good person.
I'm gonna get myself another drink. Hold on.
How will we leave off?
We were.
We were talking initially about the fact that
Occultism.
occultism and the fact that you see it as self gratification more so than anything else, effectively. Which
not the practice inherently, but the way the practice is being manifested these days, it advocates for a lot of self-interest.
but doesn't Christianity as well?
Well, yet not Christianity. Like, yet again, it's not Christianity as the tool.
I'm
It's-
using that as just a broad spectrum. Like
Well, no, I want to be very specific about how I'm wording this. It's not that Christianity itself is in the same aspect. It's that people use Christianity to that aspect. It's the same thing with Wicca, paganism, all this stuff. Is that these things can fundamentally be healthy, good for people, but unfortunately, they're not used in such a way. They're used for self gratification at the cost of other people more often than not.
Yeah, that's just kind of a basic inherent human flaw with us.
Oh yeah, I know.
It's the reason why I think communism is a completely
Greed be greed?
failed ideology.
Oh, 100. That's the only reason why
I-
communism can't win, because we're just inherently selfish. That's by nature.
Yes.
yeah, I was gonna say I think greed be greed.
No, yeah, 100%. I know.
I mean, that and pattern recognition are probably our two biggest flaws. Although, I mean, admittedly, pattern recognition is
It can also be good.
it's for survival.
tool.
It's a survival tool, but in terms of things like causing conspiracy theories, it's also probably one of our biggest hangups.
I would say yeah, actually yes.
Where's
Because
Fody at?
Fody be that super prey. Because he
He was the guy on the live stream with us.
Oh,
the
okay,
one with the crazy hair.
You literally had a debate with him.
Oh, I remember him now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was listen. I was a few drinks in, and I was also late at night. Work with me here.
It's okay. I wasn't there at all mentally.
Oh, I was there. I was having a piss of a time with it. But anyway, I
would say that any type of religion can be selfish, self-gratifying, self-centered.
mean, again,
So
like
trying to narrow it down
No.
as like, all right, well, occultism focuses more so on it.
All right. I want to be really reiterate what other point I said, because we have to be very specific about how you word it. The doctrines themselves are not inherently self gratifying.
That's
It's
pretty
the
much
people.
all religion. Sorry.
Oh no, not all religions. Most like a lot of religions that argue for peace among each other. The issue though is that with specifically a lot of the way that these older these older practices are being revamped for the new age, they're being taught in a way that is harmful to society as a whole. It's not healthy for you to go on Reddit to go through 10 different posts on how to make like different get your X back potions. Spend the next half a year trying to do it and go on Twitter and post on Reddit about how it's not working, how you're upset about it. Because your chakras aren't clear.
I think this is oddly specific.
r/oddly specific.
Oh man,
That's where you are right now.
I love reading through Reddit.
So you've
So
sat
what
there
it
and
sounds
gone through
like-
people's profiles about this.
You've never gone to the YouTube Reddit compilations?
Oh yeah, I've gone.
Dude,
through
I
YouTube.
love reading those. I
So
love
what
listening to those.
okay.
What it sounds like is that we have a Redditor here.
God.
Sorry, guys, we have a Redditor here.
God no. Listen, I take showers. I can't do
What's
that.
your mod? What's your karma? I bet it's pretty high.
I think I'm presently at 12,000 something karma.
I still don't know what the fuck is karma.
That said,
It's a rough aggravation of your upvotes and comments and posts. It's kind of a meaningless number.
I do have a question.
What's up?
What's like one of the number one questions that people have for Christianity? Like, how do I get into heaven? This promised all happiness when you die type of thing. Isn't that kind of self-gratifying?
I would say
I
if
find
you're
the way that
looking-
you get into heaven itself is a bit self-gratifying for the person that you're supposed to be getting heaven for.
No,
Yeah.
I would say
Jesus.
no. I would say that it's if
Oh,
you're going
get
to
into heaven for me.
if you get into spirituality, or let's
I'm
say
just-
Christianity, like let's talk
I'm
about
just
that
using that one mostly because unfortunately that is the one that I have the most experience with,
Yeah.
and I can't comment so much on the others.
one. No, I get you. So I was saying here is one of the
That shut him down.
So I was saying here is when it comes to like the idea of heaven is not supposed to be a place you just get to as a reward for being a good person. It's way it's portrayed is that heaven's a place that you can have access to, if not as a reward, but it makes sense that if you're a good person, you can be around by other good people after you die.
Yeah, I mean, Hitler was a good guy. He said 10 Hail Marys, and he believed in God and accepted Jesus as his Lord and Savior as he killed himself, right?
I'm not sure if you're trying
So-
to be openly antagonistic about the Christian faith, but to sit there and liken somehow Hitler reciting 10 Hail Marys and something into heaven, that's a very reductive view.
So, I find that a lot of modern evangelical and American Christians, their view on how to get into heaven is not anymore to be a good person. A lot of them now seem to preach that what you need to do is, like, accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior and love Him with all your heart, and that will be your free ticket into heaven. Where I find, see, I think it's called Pascal's Wager. Let me see if it stole my fucking Wikipedia thing here. But is it? I don't know if let me see, because I have it.
Oh,
Well, he's looking that up. Take it as though I am being truly antagonistic. Just take it as that for now, and we'll play with that aspect.
okay.
Just isn't that self-gratification? Isn't that something that, oh, look, now because I said 10 Hail Marys and I believe in God and I love Him type of a thing, isn't that just kind of like oh, look, I don't want to go to hell, let's go to heaven?
Still an incredibly reductive view, because the only way I would say to come
Again,
to,
I'm saying take it as the
and
reductive, just so we have...
and the response to that is that if that was a take to it, it's a very reductive view of it, because unfortunately, yeah, you can do your 10 Hail Marys and try to repent. The fact is, let's just go back to the scale of Hitler, because because he has, he's the most famous one at the moment.
Okay, sorry. Pascal's Wager is slightly different. It's whatever. But
Now for something entirely different.
sorry.
What I was saying is that it's believing in Jesus isn't the key into getting to heaven. It's not. The way you gain access to it is if you just try to be as harmonious and loving a person as well, above all else.
Unfortunately,
That's it. Now,
unfortunately, there are a lot of places that teach that you have to love Jesus, and that's the way in.
And that's the problem.
That
because
was
if
pretty
they-
much how our church worked.
No,
Which is why I'm saying that...
therein lies the problem, because that's the thing. You can't.
Would you
force
lump
love.
that in as an occult?
No, That would be indoctrination, because you can't. That's the tricky part about it. If someone's trying to teach you and trying to get you to love Jesus, to force you to love Jesus, you can't force love. You can't force a fart. That's how you shit yourself. You force love, you're just trying to control. The only way to really do it is to really try to understand what it means to love yourself, and then try to treat your neighbor as much as you love yourself.
So
And that's the best way to do it. And from there, you just keep practicing. And the more you learn to work in harmony with both yourself and the people around you, remember that there's a bigger thing above you.
So
That's
wouldn't
it.
that be what the occultism that you're?
Yeah,
is
I'm
that
saying,
you're
how is
trying-
that different
by
other than
using self-improvement through
Because
the
if
spirituality?
not so much, because yet again, the point I'm trying to make about the practices that are really popular nowadays, right? The ideas of manifestation, the ideas of potions and all that fun shit. The problem with those is that you're forcing things. True, healthy spirituality is the understanding that you can't force anything. Because beyond what you think you have, you truly have no power.
So it sounds like you just want people to be good people and be happy with themselves.
Yes.
Okay.
For no reason, period.
Why not?
Why was
Again,
E.T.
it's-
Brown? No
No
reason.
Sorry.
Movie quote.
It's all good. And I'm saying,
Reference
though,
to references.
Like
Hey.
I'm a Christian, but not everyone's gonna be a Christian. I don't care if you're a Christian or not. You know, just are you cool with me? Am I cool with you? Do you treat people well?
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
it. Whether you believe in heaven or not, that's up to you. I do. You may not, but I do. And whatever it is, end of the day, just be a good person. Try to be a good person. Try to be a good example for the next generation.
Come from a good heart.
That's it.
Okay, so then
Tell that
it's
to the
not just
Republicans.
occultism that you have issues with. You just have issues with indoctrination. Period.
Indoctrination and the spreading of religious, of spiritual and religious beliefs when someone's not really trying to understand the roots of it.
So then this isn't a history podcast about occultism at all. Thank you, people.
We kind of got that point, but yeah, somehow.
No, we did not.
Yeah, listen.
I do not think that we got anything to do with the history of occultism.
I
We were
mean,
just kind of discussing the
Wait.
occultism as a whole. So
Sure.
see, he's thinking like
Full-
occultism be like if we started talking about like Aleister Crowley and how he influenced, say, the rise of modern.
Luciferian,
yeah.
and Luciferian Satanism.
That's what he's trying to go with when he says history. When we're kind of talking about history, we're kind of talking to
a
us
little bit
that-
more philosophical.
Well, if our case, I'd say the history would be more of just kind of say the influence of the general spirituality on humans' history in general. We could kind of go with because
It dictates society. Yeah.
spirituality and religion is basically kind of molded how our society has progressed since literally 2000 AD.
That's before that.
I mean, since even before that, yeah, with
Since
say,
forever.
Yeah, religious leaders were always it's like at the top, like near the top of the pyramid for society. They're the ones that made the income. So yeah, you have to listen to them.
Pretty
Whether
much.
you're
Pretty much.
yeah.
Big old scary lava mountain over there. Get no angry because we sacrifice. Like,
I don't know if that's ever actually been a thing historically, but
yes, people have been sacrificed.
I know people have been sacrificed. I mean,
To volcanoes?
throwing a virgin into a volcano. I don't know if that's ever
Oh,
actually happened. or
actual
not.
that I don't know about either, but I know that people have been sacrificed because they were afraid of, some cataclysmic world-ending event.
Yes, look at all of Central America.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know specifically if anybody was ever thrown into a volcano. I imagine at some point somebody probably was to satiate the lava gods.
But anywho,
Come on, in the history of the world, you don't think that somebody's been thrown into?
Oh no, definitely somebody.
Okay, so there we go.
We just wouldn't have any evidence of it.
Probably because it burned real hard.
lava hot.
I was saying because
Fire
I
hot.
was gonna say because I forgot
Let
one
the
sacrifice, the
professy
whole
get
city
it.
got wiped out. They messed up one time. Whole thing.
Professor Wessie will help out.
Ah,
Fire
is
indeed
hot. Professor, lava, hot.
Futurama. We gotta cover.
Especially since it's coming back now for some reason.
Yeah, they need to just let it die.
It's funny because one of the first things that reviews I said was it's great, but the problem is all the callback and in jokes are going to leave new viewers alienated.
Yeah.
Yeah, That'd be Futurama. That's one of those. That's one of those shows that will do that for you.
Yeah. Especially since they took an extended hiatus.
Twice now.
More than that.
Yeah, they get canceled 2 or 3 times also.
More than that.
I think they're on their 3rd or 4th cancellation.
They just need to let it die.
I think this is the 5th revival.
My worry is that they wind up like SpongeBob or the revamped Powerpuff Girls, where they're just terrible. No.
Did you hear they canceled that revamped live-action Powerpuff Girls?
Good.
It's just no more.
Good, because everyone saw the sales, no one liked it. It looked
Well,
bad.
did you read the script?
No.
Okay.
Don't
you
read
want-
the script.
Do you want to know what happens?
Read about occultism.
You want to, dude? You want to know what happens? They kill off Mojo Jojo, and it becomes his teenage angsty son, Jojo. Or whatever.
He had his own bizarre adventure.
Yeah, no, they kill off Mojo Jojo, in like the first episode, and the main antagonist it switches to his like angsty teenage son or some shit. That's in the leaked script for that live action Powerpuff
Some
Girls.
skinny kid in a gorilla suit. Oh my god! What the hell did we're gonna drop that one? That sounds terrible.
It looked so horrible, and I think they went through like 3 or 4 different actresses too for like a couple of them.
It's
Yeah.
fine. It can't hurt you anymore. It can't hurt you anymore.
Did you ever see the weird Japanese anime Powerpuff Girls? Though?
No, we're not doing this right now. This is not the history of Powerpuff Girls.
These are bad reboots.
I think we once had
No, it is not.
we once had an extended Habbo Hotel history in the middle of one of our episodes. What do you?
We didn't even talk about the history of anything.
Shout out to whatever episode had the tangent of Habbo Hotel. By the way, I want to say that was maybe
Garrett
Adam's.
was in this. We had to explain Habba Hotel to Garrett.
Yeah, because we're doing the pool's closed meme.
Adult Swim.
Was it Adult Swim?
It sounds like the Adult Swim
Was it
episode.
the Adult Swim one or maybe the Adam Sandler one? I don't remember.
I remember the pool's closed me. Oh my god.
Yeah, we had to.
It's okay, buddy. We're old. All right, here, hold on. I got you.
It's
Oh, you actually
bar.
have you actually have bleep button?
Yeah.
You have the sound
We don't
effects out
use
there or
it.
just bleep buttons? Oh, you actually have the sound effects?
I have bleep buttons.
So what it does is it just bleeps. Literally, the bleep is whatever audio we're doing. If you're talking during that bleep, it just cuts. You can't hear it. So if I was
My mind was blown. I always thought they had just recorded it.
No.
Holy crap,
no,
there's an
so
actual button.
if I'm talking right now and he starts hitting the button, it'll completely bleep out what I'm saying. All you hear is just the beat.
That's so cool. I didn't know that's how it worked. I always thought like they kind of recorded and kind of cut it back, and
It just completely whatever I'm just saying is gone.
that's fun.
But well, the Nazis used occultism as part of their bid for the rise of power by using the belief that there was the
A master race.
Was it the Hyperboreans? They really like they descended from the Hyperboreans.
They believe that they were partially descended from Hyperboreans and people from Gartha, the Hollow Earth, the Hollow Earth city, or whatever it is. The society that it's a Gartha. I can't remember if it's supposed to be a city or a society. It's been
Well, the funny thing is,
It also depends on like how indoctrinated you were, because some people
Yes.
were just like, "Yeah, man, I want Germany to be a world power again," and some people were like, "Yo, why the fuck are we not the top of the food chain right now? I mean, look at us. We are like peak specimens." And then there were some where it's, again, just like, "Yeah, man, buying bread at like $80 really fucking sucks. Let's be a world power again."
well,
Wait, who do we have to blame? Fine with that.
everybody.
So I mean the Nazis using occultism as a form of rise to power would be considered a negative effect of, say, occultism and spirituality.
It's not just the Nazis. Also, you can look at the Vatican. We can look at a lot of the royal families. Look at actually even the American dynastic families. You can see occultist symbols throughout everything that they're doing, and almost always has a negative impact in society as a whole.
Freemasons.
I was gonna say, are we getting into that like weird Moloch QAnon shit?
I mean,
We're not doing that right now.
not right now, but
Okay.
We don't. I don't have the brain capacity to do that right now. I am not doing that right now.
Because that,
It's
But,
not happening. Not right now.
another time, maybe, never, possibly. But,
that'd be a very.
That would be an episode, but no.
well, we should bring Fodian for that one.
No. We should get back on topic.
It's,
But what I'm saying here is, it's like I'm saying, as you actually brought a good point up, is that if you look at the Nazi regime, they were heavily interested in the occultic and specifically the dark arts, and that's one of the motivations that was pushing them to do the things that they were doing, to amass as much treasure, as much things that they can do, because they believe that somewhere among all these records, among everything, that there's something that will give them like that perfect access, and that's the problem. A lot of these occultic practices, they're bound by secrecy.
I saw Captain America: First Avenger too.
Yeah, me too.
Funny enough, Hitler himself was actually at the beginning of the war, he was more into it and kind of for it, but later on, more late war, he got fed up with that shit and was known for saying, "Why are we investing so heavily in looking for artifacts somewhere in the middle of the Himalayan mountains? We should be putting that money towards the wall, towards the."
You guys know that we're battling on two fronts now, right?
Yeah, why are we looking? Goebbels or whoever it was out there sending people to the Himalayas to try and find pottery shards with manjis on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or sending them down to the Antarctic to find the entrance to the Hollow Earth.
I too have seen the Lost Ark.
And also, like when the U.S. invaded the Middle East, one of the first things that they're targeting were a lot of the ancient ruins. They're actually just straight up exploring them and taking back artifacts. That's the first thing we do. We check out the ruins. Same in South America. First thing we did.
Well, yeah, we found the
ruins.
Stargate in Iraq. You didn't know about that?
No, I did not know.
Yeah, you didn't. One of the theories that why we invaded Iraq so heavily was because they had just uncovered a Stargate and were about to figure out how to use it. Yeah.
I want to believe that. I want to believe that, like that.
That's why we invaded.
No, not like that. They like something like that exists. I should say more specifically. It's something like that
Stargate
exists.
in general.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's no basis for it, but it would be fun.
It was
for
a
it to
good
be.
movie.
Yeah, it absolutely was.
Again,
And some decent TV shows.
with how large the universe is, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. Listen, a lot of our ancient sculptures are really weird. Let's just leave it at that.
A lot of our modern sculptures are really weird.
Wait,
we
been
did this
watching
whole like abstract phase in the 1900s.
Oh, speaking of just weird ass art, did you see the new Ruth Bader Ginsburg statue?
Oh yeah, that
The
weird.
golden horns one.
What?
I'll show you. I'll put it up right now.
It's supposed to, I think, actually represent female anatomy, technically.
What?
That's what you want us to represent it.
So they made a statue to honor a dead person, Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Former dead Burnson?
Well, I was going to say
say.
former Supreme Court justice, but then I was like, well, she's dead anyway, so who cares?
That's the statue they put up of Ruth Bader Ginsburg in the city. Hold on.
It looks like a ram. Why?
Oh, it's very clear as to
Well,
why.
have you seen Lucifer in Cincinnati Airport or wherever it is?
That's it from the front.
Huh.
Yeah. They
Intriguing.
They
Art,
claimed
art
that.
is subjective.
Huh?
Art is subjective.
Who would have guessed?
I would say sometimes maybe not so.
I mean,
I would
Look,
say,
hold
if you
on.
look at
sometimes
Balen-
it's just a statue of a guy fighting babies.
You're right, or it's
Hold
a
on.
Balenciaga ad campaign. That's very in your face.
Hold on.
I thought we weren't doing the QAnon stuff.
Wait. Hold on. We know that Jackson Pollock existed too, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put some fucking dots here, and then I'm gonna put some dots there, and then I'm gonna put some dots there, and then I need some other colored dots. How about these dots?
What about MC Escher and Crazy Stairs?
I want Jackson Ball to talk like that. Like, why does that work so well? That's why his fucking page is so expensive.
Nope, missed my Family Guy reference. All right.
Reference.
Oh,
Well, I
man.
said, what about MC Escher and Crazy Stairs?
Oh man. You know they actually use his artwork to train bomber pilots in World War II.
MC Escher?
Yeah, the staircase. Yeah, they have to find very specific details among all those stairs, and that's how they train people to look at a scene very quickly and find their target.
Huh, I didn't
Yeah,
know
right.
that. Neat.
When art imitates life.
I mean, they trained pigeons to guide bombs during World War II, too.
They did.
I want to meet the guy who sat in that office and thought, I have an idea.
Well, what they would do
I
is
want
they'd
to.
have...
I want to know how the hell we fucking developed courier pigeons in general.
So,
Yo, I'm gonna give this bird right here a lot of food, and then he's gonna go fly way the fuck over to.
I mean, we've been sending messages by birds for.
courier
Yeah.
Again,
pigeons...
I want to know how we figured it out, though. Like,
It's because the destination you're sending it to is one of its roosts. So what you're doing is one of the places it's roosting home.
So they just built a castle around a bird's nest, is what you're saying.
Kind
Yes.
more like they
They put the bird at the top of the castle and just raise it from there.
They're like, aha, there's a tree and there's a bird in that tree. Build a castle.
Moves thousands of men in to build a castle slowly over 30 years.
It's not even the same bird anymore.
It's like 7 generations in now.
That's what I mean. Like, how did they know that they would go to the correct castle? How did they know that they would go anywhere involving a fucking
There's
tree?
some-
you take the
there's
bird to
some-
the place you want the message to come from, and the message will go back to the intended place. It's more of a return service than it is an outgoing service.
One guy didn't get that. There's some king out there in the middle of the field waiting for reinforcements for a return letter. He's like, where the fuck is this bird?
It's like that.
Some poor peasant's eating it.
I don't know why that reminds me of Monty Python, but it does.
And that would 100% be a Monty Python skit.
Well, I know there was a British. I don't know if it was Monty Python, but they did do there was a British sketch skit with I think it was Hugh Lowry and the guy who played Mr.
Blackadder. You're talking about the show Blackadder.
They're-
The guy plays Mr. Bean.
Yeah, they were doing a World War II bit, and he shoots the carrier pigeon, and like shooting carrier pigeons is now a punishable offense. In the same letter that he shot the carrier, he's like, oh, so he eats the pigeon. Just he's like, and then he's like, oh, where's that pigeon that we sent you? That was the general's favorite pigeon. It was one of his top birds. I don't know. It never showed up. Yeah.
Blackadder's a great show.
Occultism.
Yeah.
Don't
Sometimes
worry,
I
he
just
does
have
that
to say
all the
it.
time.
So my thing is like it's when I look at occultism is that it's as you should look at any religious endeavor.
Well, it doesn't even have to be religion, I feel like.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say religious or spiritual endeavor. The thing is that a lot of these things are based on. There's always some historical details hidden within whatever you're reading. Like when you look at the Old Testament, it's not just the Bible's a history book. The Quran is a history book. The Torah is a history book. These books are all history books. And the same thing with a lot of these more esoteric occultist practices. They are remnants of a much older culture that we honestly we could gain a lot of insight on, but we just don't because unfortunately what people have kind of taken it, they've taken it, boiled it down to the most reductive things and spread them out amongst themselves and kind of reduced everything viable about those possible cultures. That makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, it is a well-known fact that Jesus of Nazareth. Thank you, sorry.
Words.
Was a quantifiable historical figure that actually existed in real life.
Yeah.
As to whether or not he was born of immaculate conception and the actual Son of God, though, is up for debate.
Yeah.
I mean, and then again, as they say now, if he was to actually show up today in modern-day America,
He'd probably just end up in a psych ward.
or be shot down as a dirty commie.
I feel that's a bit extreme. I don't think so.
I mean,
I think he would end up in a psych ward before that happens.
I
I wouldn't say
think
like
so.
maybe I wouldn't say like physically gunned down, but I meant like
Well, just look at Martin
Discredited.
Luther. Just look at any other person that's ever tried to advocate for peace.
well,
They tend to.
Martin Luther King and both Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, like their deaths are not as
Gandhi.
not as clean cut as people like to think it is. There's a lot more nuance.
to be fair though, also Malcolm X wasn't a
Peaceful man.
peaceful solutionist. He was a militant which is
Slightly different.
yeah.
His aspect is like leave me alone, we'll leave you alone. You fuck with us, we'll fuck with you. That's not.
Yeah.
It's militant. It's still a peaceful movement. It's just leave us alone. We're ready to fight back in case we have to. It's still technically
his
peaceful.
was based in the peaceful sense of the Muslim sense, where King's was based in the Christian peaceful sense. So you could kind of even more because Malcolm X famously became a Muslim in prison when he was in prison and stuff. So he used the Islamic philosophy for his version of what he wanted, whereas Dr. King came from a Christian, and whatever.
The fundamental difference was that with Malcolm is we're gonna love you, we're gonna treat you well, but we're not gonna let you fuck with us.
Yes.
That's it. Yeah.
Speak softly, carry a big stick.
Teddy Roosevelt. That was Teddy Roosevelt. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah. That's really what.
What?
I don't know. Anyway, but the point I was trying to make before is it's. I guess it's just we just got to Malcolm X. I lost my train of thought. We were on Malcolm X for a second.
We were talking about how using it's quantifiable that there's truth in most religions to a certain extent. Yes.
Yeah.
Historically speaking.
And then he talked about Jesus of Nazareth getting shot down, and then I said, just look at most people who preach for peace.
Yeah. Peace doesn't make money.
No.
No. I'm pretty sure Megadeth did a song about that.
Peace sells, but who's buying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
I mean,
Call back to our metal episode.
Yeah, okay, we can do that. Yeah, call back to that one. I mean, even then, it's the one of the other problems is like conflict itself tends to breed progress. Tends to breed progress technologically, medically.
Yeah.
It's
a lot of our most famous advances and scientific advances have
historically been because of war to a certain extent.
We want to kill people more efficiently.
Unfortunately,
I mean, look at the microwave was literally the microwave oven that you have in your house right now. I think was based off an old version of the radar disc that we used during World War II.
And it's rockets. Rockets used to shoot things farther and faster. It's I like to look at the conflict and strife as like an artificial form of a human evolution because we're no longer part of the wild food chain that forces us to kind of weed out the weak and weed out and reinvigorate the strong. So mankind spirit found another way through just combat, through warfare. Because outside of warfare, we don't accelerate, we don't get strong, and it's tragic that that's the way it is. But that's the way it seems to have been for the past 2,000 years. Only we really advanced and we're terrified about being killed.
I mean, even then, like, if you look at the basic industrial revolution, even that wasn't going for warfare. Just in general, we tend to just seem to have massive boons in technology every certain amount of years. Like, at least almost every 50 years or so, we have weird, massive... Like, we went from flying, like, in 1912, like, the most basic flying... to being on the moon in the 60s, and then we went from having the basic computing technology to relatively put us on the moon in the 60s to now in the 2010s having the most advanced computer technology in our pocket. And it's in roughly 50 years' time, we seem to do massive advancements in technology just on its own, just kind of as we go. Like, it's almost weirdly cyclical how we seem to kind of do it.
Oh, it is cyclical.
Well, it's not even at a 50-year pace. It's just a matter of, like, what field are you talking about?
Just in general. Honestly,
I mean, look at plastics and rubber.
It's more along 40 years. Like, it's every four generations, like, there's a major shift.
Well, yeah, I would say take a look at, like, the innovations of plastic, the innovations of medical fields, the innovations of rubber, the innovations of the microchip. It's more than just every 40 years. Again, it depends on the field that you look at. I mean...
Well, yeah, there's individual...
Maybe there's a major, like, cultural shift, like, every 40, 50 years. Not so much... The technological shift it happens this exponential constant, but, like, the cultural shift around that is, like, every 40,
I'd say the cultural... Yeah, culturally we tend to shift... Yeah, like... We have a major cultural shift around the basis of the technology shifts, roughly. Yeah, of that type of... Yeah, I can see more what you're trying to say there, yeah.
I don't know about that. I mean, look at people born in the 80s, look at people born in the 90s, look at people born in the 2000s.
Well, yeah,
sure.
Every generation's inherently different. But that being said, the generation just a few years before that culturally was even more completely different than it was the generations a few years later when the technology changed. Like, there's a... Like, literally before cell phones... like became what they were like in the rough in the mid 90s versus what they were in the 80s, like culture, like even around the culture then, yeah, it started to shift towards it, but the culture in the 70s going back before that was even more
they had car phones. There was car phones
in 70s, yeah. 80s.
They weren't very common though, I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
it was like the caddies and things like that had car phones back in the late 70s.
Yeah, that'd be something that only, like, the really rich people had, whereas, like, the everyday person's like, oh, yeah, I just have the house phone or the pay phone, but then, like, now you go into shift completely different culturally, whereas, like, everybody has a phone now, and that's 40 years, give or take.
Cell phones are readily accessible and affordable for most people. We'll leave
Yes.
There we go. When technology becomes affordable and accessible for most people, you begin to see a major cultural shift that, like you said, is built around
when
that
what would be
technology.
considered the most advanced technology of the time.
This is a weird stumble.
We've just been stumbling. We're kind of going everywhere with this one. But
Well, that's the title of the podcast. Stumbling.
we
landed here.
whatever. I'm enjoying the conversation, so I don't
Yeah.
really give a shit.
I'm just trying to think. It's a weird stumble.
Yeah.
I mean, even then, you could argue it's the same thing. Spirituality and religion shifts as we change culturally with the technology, because what we're able to study and research more lends more or less clearance to what we see with our religion and spirituality. Like finding the Dead Sea Scrolls in the 50s versus before that, when we didn't have the Dead Sea Scrolls, it could change things subtly culturally in terms of what we do archaeologically,
I mean, to tie into your point also, spirituality and technology, the exploration of both of them, we went from treating people by beating them for having demons to medicating them. We're now treating, instead of saying you're possessed, we're now diagnosing people with proper mental illnesses and getting them back on track. You're absolutely right. The exploration of science and spirituality, they do go hand in hand in terms of the cultural shift.
Yeah, you don't do trepanation as much anymore as you do, say, giving somebody Prozac.
I miss the good old days.
Lobotomy!
Just, trepanation.
Lobotomy!
Yeah, I think that's the term for when you cut a hole in your skull.
Yeah, Japanning is when they go
Trepanning?
So they found a bunch of stuff.
I definitely heard Japanning it for some
no,
reason.
not that.
I'm like, what?
They cut a small hole in your skull,
Yeah.
and it's to let evil spirits out. But I'm like,
Well, it also can do things like relieve certain pressures, in intracranial pressure and stuff.
Yeah,
And,
but what if it was a brain implant? What if?
I mean, that would be aliens,
Right?
possibly.
How cool would that be?
What? All right.
Anyway,
If
Are
the
you
aliens-
saying you want Neuralink?
hell no. I don't trust Elon Musk.
No. After all the dead monkeys, no.
Wait, what?
Oh, jeez.
Dude, they've been the Neuralinks. They've killed a lot of monkeys trying that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they got a lot of dead monkeys in their whatever.
Big
monkey-
surprise.
I'm not surprised at all.
Yes, putting computer chips in a brain might accidentally kill something. Who would have thought? Almost
have
like it's the
guessed?
most sensitive organ you have. One of.
I gotta look this up later. That is wild.
Yes, you do.
Oh, what?
He found it.
1,500 animals in testing. Oh my god.
Yeah.
He found it, people.
Oh,
He found the mother lode.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's
And the FDA is like, we'll start human testing. What? No.
no.
God, no. No.
I mean, if he makes real life cat girls with genetic testing, though.
We can talk. I'm not a stalwart against technology, gentlemen. Okay, I'm just reserved against some of it.
I too have seen an anime.
Brain implants, cat girls. Brain implants, cat girls.
Listen, man, put the brain implant one down, okay? So trying to waste time. So
I think he even said he would try and bring back. No, that was that was the pharmaceutical bro. He said he was going to try and clone
Martin
Harambe.
Shkreli?
Yeah, Skrullies. Yeah, for a while, Skrully said he was going to try and clone Harambe.
Why though? Anyway,
Because
Okay.
Harambe. Everything went downhill ever since we killed Harambe.
Harambe sacrificed himself for that child's life. He brought him back. The sacrifice means nothing. You gotta let him stay dead.
All I know is
He's a
George
meme in the
Bush was
memory.
involved because he knew Harambe's mother.
Wait, who? You see George Bush?
Oh my god, no. We're not going down this path.
There's a meme. Sorry, I shared a meme to one of our group chats. It's a picture of George Bush at a zoo meeting the gorilla that was Harambe's mother. And it's just like, how deep does this conspiracy go?
Added to the Clinton body count.
You mean the Bush body count?
Oh yeah, that too.
Every
Kitty
president
history.
has a body count.
Kitty history. It's just like ours.
If you don't include the wars, every president has some sort of personal body count too, I
yeah.
think. Especially the Kennedys.
But there's a very fun song called Kitty History by Trevor Moore that you should take a look at.
Oh, you showed me. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not sponsored.
Kitty
Yo, it was-
LBJ.
The worst
Not
part,
sponsored.
The worst part is I was looking at it, I'm like,
R.I.P.
this
Trevor.
is horrifyingly accurate.
The Kitty Saudis.
Kitty 9/11.
Somebody did some research.
Kitty LBJ had Kitty JFK.
Stop. We don't want to get copyright striked.
Sorry. Once again, shout out to Trevor Moore. May he rest in peace.
Oh man.
Not sponsored.
Anyway, shout out to Zach for making the Barbarian.
Yeah, good movie.
Have you seen Barbarian?
Shout out to horror movie episode.
You haven't seen the movie Barbarian?
No.
It's the one where the girl goes to the.
Don't spoil things.
No. What's like
She,
the hook of it?
So
She goes to an Airbnb.
She gets an Airbnb,
Shit ensues.
and it's accidentally double booked with somebody. And as they're staying there, it kind of
Shit
gets.
ensues.
But the whole movie was written and directed by Zach.
It's
Krieger,
very good.
The other whitest kid you know. It's really good. It's a good movie. I will say about halfway through.
I've seen the ads for this before. It's good.
Yeah, no, it's actually
good.
a good movie. Yeah.
Oh, it looks scary. Oh, I'll watch it.
Take a look.
But yeah, one of the whitest kids you know made it, and it's one of the better horror movies.
They're
I
honestly just
enjoyed it
talented.
way more than Terrifier 2.
Shout out to our horror movie episode again.
No, the Terrifier 2 came the next episode when I started bitching about it because it sucked.
Yeah, but we made a reference to it in our horror movie episode. So,
Whatever.
reference to the reference counter.
Well, no, because the quote I'm looking at, I'm paraphrasing it, but the basics of the quote is I can't remember who said it or where it's from, but you know, if there is a benevolent, if there is an all-powerful creator, and he judges me based off of whether or not I bend my knee in worship, then I shall turn my back on that creator. But if that creator judges me based off whether or not I've led a decent and good, just life, and not for his own validation, then that is the creator I shall walk with.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing it. But it's not Pascal's wager. Pascal's wager is different but similar. But
No, I understand the sentiment. Like that's entirely reasonable.
What the hell it's on about?
It's the difference. It's the difference between a tyrant and I would say, a benevolent leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that sentiment.
But that's how I kind of view how I view with like justification on spirituality, religion. Like, I'm not gonna sit there and pray all the goddamn time when I just be a decent person.
Yeah, but I try to be as good as objectively good a person as possible. You're making mistakes. You're just trying to do better. That's all. That's the premise of it. Hopefully.
Well, yeah, it's just but I forget for the life of me, I cannot remember where
It's gonna happen tonight at like 4 a.m. and I'll wake up and it's being in the back here. It's like I fucking remembered it.
I've known it for a few years now. It comes and goes. I'll find it eventually. Should have really wrote it down. There's also Mephisto's quote from Demon City Shinjuku, but I don't know.
Manga.
Yeah.
Well, there was a manga of it. There was also a novel series and a movie.
Oh.
Yeah, that boy, he gets around with writing.
It's but the basis of the quote is actually I think it's on my Facebook too. Humans have always humans still natural state is more or less like war and strife. So when the demons finally show up bringing these things, do you not think we'll instead embrace them as saviors? I can it's on my bloody Facebook profile. Let me actually pull it up.
I don't think humans are inherently like we are prone to violence. Sorry. I don't think that we're such a lost species that if beings showed up and taught us how to make better weapons and kill each other more efficiently that we'd look at them as saviors. I don't think so.
Well, I mean, just look at Oppenheimer. That just came out.
Well, yeah, but also Oppenheimer was a matter of like desperation and scientific curiosity. If they
But what I'm
not-
saying is something to increase the death toll, effectively. Something in order to increase war.
yeah, but
Would that not be looked as a savior? That's the
not
same
at all,
thing that he's
'cause
saying.
look what came out of that. We developed nuclear weapons. We went to like a 50-year standoff with neighbors who did not want to deal with us because they were trying to develop their own nuclear weapons as well to match our nuclear weapons. That was a matter of
Yeah,
paranoia.
and there was no other conflict going on during that time. Not one other conflict.
Yeah, because we're so afraid to cause a nuclear holocaust.
Yeah, I mean, Korean War didn't happen, Vietnam War didn't happen, Gulf War didn't happen, not one.
Other proxy wars between us and other countries.
It was
Not
never-
one thing happened.
No, he made a very.
That was that 80 years of peaceful time that we were talking about.
80 years, 80 days.
It's proxy.
But I was like, he made a very good point. It's like there was never a direct open conflict. It was always a proxy war. Some kind of contract, guerrillas, some local militia, and some collapsed government.
I mean, look at the Afghan and the Russians.
Oh man.
Yeah.
We literally accidentally mated the we literally accidentally made the Taliban with that one.
It was an accident that we paid them. Oopsie.
Yeah.
And we definitely didn't give them any good reasons to stop doing what they're doing. We kind of reinforced what they're doing. So
Yep.
tragic. But I'm saying is it's like you made a good point. It was never a direct open conflict. There's always just a proxy war between the two global powers, two major global powers, because they were so afraid of each other's arsenal that they knew if one of them made a legitimate move, it's mutual destruction for anybody involved and also not involved. If aliens were to come down and bring us some like world-ending technology, I think that the thought of it would terrify.
Again, like a nuclear bomb.
Because nuclear
He's
bombs.
talking something.
If we're talking about aliens, a nuclear bomb is primitive. If we're talking like a space-faring species, a nuclear weapon would be incredibly primitive.
Funny enough, if we actually had to deal with an alien invasion, one of the most effective solutions we have would be literally one of the most primitive ones we could think of. That'd be just turning the Earth into a giant shotgun.
What?
So basically, what we would do is take like an old missile silo, or just make a big fucking tunnel in the ground going straight down. And you get a few nuclear warheads. You put them at the bottom. And you take a bunch of giant concrete or steel discs and you stack them into the hole. And then you set those nuclear warheads off. And it rockets those things out into orbit, into the atmosphere, at like basically almost supersonic speeds. If those things are able to take physical damage, it would shred everything that is in its way, such as an invading alien fleet.
Assuming that it works.
Assuming that it would be able to damage the ships, yes.
Because if you're flying through outer space, there's gonna be a infinite amount of risk in terms of what could be hitting you. Especially depending where you're going, like you can wind up, having to travel through, say, an asteroid meteorite belt, stray astrological bodies, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, they're still hundreds of thousands of miles apart.
I feel like
the asteroid belts in Star Wars are a little overstated.
I'm with you on that. But
I don't want to say that there's like, I don't know, billions of satellites, because there's not, but there are, I don't know, basically no fucking. There's almost no blank space in our sky.
Yep.
Just between all the satellites and all the probes.
Space junk.
Yeah. There's
Whatever
almost
Musk
no
is doing with that satellite bullshit.
Yeah, there's almost no clear section in the sky.
Didn't Musk turn off like internet for Ukraine because like one of the PMs like mouthed off to him?
No.
What was the situation for that one?
So he didn't turn off the internet for Ukraine. People turned off the internet for Russia because they didn't want Russia to know about Ukraine and this and that. And it wasn't just that one time that it's happened. Also, Russia has never once lost anything to do with banks, or China has never once had anything to do with a social standing and your social rating based off of smile for us. Things
Totally never did.
There we go. Yeah. Elon Musk shut off about 1,300 Ukraine Starlink satellite dishes because,
That sounds like something he would do. But
Yeah, there's never been anything like that.
totally.
No.
not at all.
People aren't petty.
Nothing happened in Tiananmen Square.
There is no war in Ba Sing
What's the
Se.
Square?
There is no war in Ba Sing Se.
There was no movie in Ba Sing Se either.
No.
No.
No. No, there was not.
I can't wait to Avatar makes his first ever live action movie. I'll be so excited.
I mean, you could be excited for that Netflix series coming out.
I'm done.
What, you don't want to see Ong?
This trailer.
You don't want to see Ong?
So done, huh?
You don't want to see Ong?
Oh, there's a new trailer for One Piece out?
It just looks so bad.
Oh, fuck.
Dude,
Shout out to our One Piece episode.
Right?
yo, anime fans unite. Say no more to Netflix original adaptations. Just say
They
no.
had one thing that was good.
What?
Wasn't like Rurouni Kenshin supposed to be good?
That wasn't
That wasn't
theirs.
Netflix though. Wasn't that? That was a Japanese studio that did that.
Yeah. Also, we don't talk about Rurouni Kenshin.
Why?
We don't talk about the guy that wrote Rurouni Kenshin.
Why?
He got arrested for...
Oh wait, I know why. I remember the story.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Turns out you should leave kids alone, probably.
No, it was his own... Whatever. It was on his computer. But,
Oh man.
I'm just saying in general, it's probably a good idea.
I think honestly
the
most
live
anime
action-
artists should have their computers investigated.
the live-action Rurouni Kenshin movies were probably the best live-action anime movies. And I think
Yeah,
the
I'd
one
say yeah.
the one scene in the first movie, too, is probably one of the best representations of Kenshin. When he's when the dojo's being attacked and he goes and steps in for the first time, and he's like, and and Kaori is like, oh, swords are for protection stuff, and he's like, no, swords are for like fighting and killing. But the way he just, it's that subtle kind of like, because when he's doing it, he's like, oh, but then he just kind of like subtly ticks his head and just goes, but if I had my preference, I do think her words are a lot better, and it's just that subtle. Because in like the anime, they kind of goof it like, oh, yeah, but I think, he's like, he's seriously just kind of, but it's him, like, he's still serious and in the moment. He's just like, it's just because he's genuinely, it's his genuine belief that he knows that this is the truth, but he's genuinely sitting there going, but I want this to be the truth instead. It's not just him being a goof and throwing them off. It's literally just, yeah, no, I know that what I do is bad, but what I want is, I find it probably one of that little subtle moment is probably one of the best representations I've seen of a character just done well in a long time. So it's weird. Sorry.
No, I want to see it now. You ever see Samurai X? It's the precursor for Rurouni Kenshin, like back when he was like.
Yeah, when he was still the Batosai and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like that shit's so good.
You want to see something interesting?
No.
Look up Tenshin Ryohaho. It's a Japanese.
You have given him so much stuff to look up.
It's a Japanese Bato Jutsu style.
What's it called?
And it's the style that
What's it called? What's it called?
Tenshin Hoyo.
So, occultism, people.
Yes, it's
What's a movie? Or
no,
is it
it's a
art?
martial art.
Oh.
It's the style that Kenshin's style is based off of and used for partially training in the movies when he's doing it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a Bato Jutsu.
Okay.
Anyway,
What time is it, by the way? Okay.
so yeah, back to occultism, I guess, somehow, some way. Yeah, we just kind of went all over the place this episode. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I had fun,
I did too. I had a blast.
Good night, people.
All right, see you guys next
Good
time
night.
for our live stream or whatever we're doing.